Right, well, bore da pawb, and just wanted to say hello to all my families from Tafn Spite and Tampton CP schools, all the boys and girls and their mums, dads, families and friends, because we haven't seen many of you for quite some while because of the lockdown, and just wanted to touch base with you all, to say hello, hope that you're all well, and to say that I'm really looking forward to seeing you all back in school. I'd like to think now that we are at least at the beginning of the end of the COVID-19 pandemic, so we'll all look forward to being back to school, back with our friends and back to normal as soon as possible. Okay, so I just wanted to share with you a couple of things that have helped me during the time of lockdown, because it is really difficult for grown-ups as well as for children too. So these are things that have helped me. Two things in particular actually, and number one, what has really helped me is going for my daily walk around my village every morning. I go every day in all weathers, and this last week it's been very, very, very wet, and I've still gone. And this morning when I went, it was really, really cold, and roads were really slippery and icy, and I had to wear my special shoes with special grips so I wouldn't slip and slide all over the road. And the thing about going for my walk is that as I go around, I see lots and lots of new things, lots of different things, and I walk as quick as I can to make my heart beat quickly, so I have a bit of good exercise as well. And every single time, without fail, when I come back to my house afterwards, I feel so much happier and more positive and ready for the day ahead. So that's what I would say to everybody, is that if you do have the opportunity, then a bit of exercise every day, maybe a walk or a little bike ride from the house or whatever you do, will really help to make you feel happy, healthy and better for the day to come. The other thing that I've been doing a lot during lockdown, which has really helped me as well, is feeding the birds in my garden. And as you all know, I like birds and wildlife, as I often talk about in assembly. So feeding the birds in my garden has been really good to do in lockdown, because it's given me something to think about other than all the difficult parts of life at the moment. So I've just focused on feeding the birds and watching the birds and learning about them. I've got my special little bird book, and I've been looking through and learning all the names of all the birds and learning more and more about birds every single day. And the thing about feeding birds is to tell you a few little really important tips, because I'm sure a lot of you feed birds because it's really good fun, and it's really interesting, and it's really good for the birds because they're really, really hungry, particularly in the winter time. So some very important things is this. Number one, we talk about using bird feeders. But the truth is, you don't always have to use a bird feeder. What I've started doing a lot of is just throwing bird food all over the garden, on the grass, maybe put some along the wall, on the patio area or on the bank or wherever, because birds like looking in the grass and finding the food themselves. So you don't always need to have proper feeders. Bird feeding doesn't have to be expensive, because you can use maybe an old rotten apple or a bit of spare bread or any bits of food that you have that is good for birds to eat. That's spare, you could use that as well. And the other thing is that in a very cold weather, when all the water is frozen, it's a good idea to give the birds something to drink, usually some cool water, because that helps. Otherwise they get very, very thirsty, and they can actually die from needing water more than needing food sometimes. And the other thing is about feeding birds is that sometimes one of the things that kills little garden birds the most, funny enough, are cats. Now I'm sure many of you have got cats, and cats are really, really clever at catching birds. So if you put your feeder very close to a hedge, that really helps the cat, because the cat can sort of creep in, hide in a hedge, and then so all of a sudden jump out and catch the bird really, really easily. We don't really want that to happen. You don't want a cat to catch too many of these lovely songbirds. So if you put your feeder away from the hedge and quite high off the ground so the cats can't reach them, then the birds will be much safer, and the cat will be very cross. But as long as the birds are safe, that's the main thing. Okay, so I'm going to show you some pictures of some of my favourite birds that have been coming to my garden this last week or two, and see if you can recognise some of them. Okay, so we start out with this one. Everybody sees these in their garden. This, of course, anybody know what it is? Well, that's correct. It is. It's the blue tit and the little tiny little birds, and everybody sees those on their garden. They're lovely, lovely birds. And then we have his cousin in the same family, the great tit, I'm sure lots of you have seen those. And along with the blue tit, they often build their nests in bird boxes in people's houses, in trees and things. So you'll see lots of those around. They're very common. I hope you see those. Probably see these on your lawn running around the place. It's black and it's a bird, so what do you think it is? Correct, it's a blackbird. And they go springing around on your lawns eating worms and things. And they're one of my favourite birds actually, blackbirds. And closely related in the same family is this little bird. This is the song thrush. And you may see those hopping around your lawn as well. They're not as common as they used to be, sadly, but they are still around and they're lovely birds, song thrushes. And along with the blackbird, they sing beautifully. Then we have one of the most colourful birds in the garden, the goldfinch. And these eat little tiny seeds, if you got any of those, and they will come in big numbers to your garden, and they're very, very beautiful. That's the goldfinch. And then his close relative is the chaffinch. And these birds look bigger in the pictures, but they're smaller in real life, much smaller. And that's the little chaffinch, and they will come to your garden too. And they're beautiful, colourful little birds who like nuts and seeds as well. Hey, this one comes to our garden too. This is very, very unusual to come to a garden. Anybody know what this one is called? It's a yellow bird. It's actually called a yellow hammer. And they usually live more in hedgerows by fields and things. But maybe because the weather's been colder, I'm not sure. Maybe because I've been putting out lots of food. But there's at least 2 yellow hammers who come every day to my garden, which makes me very, very happy. And the boy yellowhammer has this beautiful yellow, bright yellow head, and they make a song that sounds a bit like a little bit of bread and no cheese, a little bit of bread and no cheese, and that's a lovely yellowhammer. So if you find one of those, you'll be very lucky, just like I am. Oh, we all know this one, our great friend Robin, who's we often think about at Christmas time because he's often watching us, make sure that we're behaving before Father Christmas comes to our houses. This is the lovely robin. They again have a beautiful song, and it's around about this time of year, just before the spring, that the songbirds like these are starting to sing their songs, because what they do by singing their songs, they're marking out the area where they want to live with their families, make their nest, have their eggs, raise their babies, and they want to mark the area where they want to live, and they don't want any other birds living, or any other birds of their type living in that area. So this is a time when you really hear lots and lots of bird song. And then finally we have this one, and this looks big in this picture here, but it's actually one of the smallest birds in the whole of Britain. In fact, it's the 3rd smallest bird in the whole of Britain. It's a wren. It's a wren, and they're tiny, lovely little birds. And the thing about the wren, they're small birds, but they have an enormous song. They have very strong voices. But also, at the moment, the wren is the most common bird in the whole of Britain. So that's brilliant news. And they're lovely little birds, and as I said, they have a lovely song. Okay, so 2 of my favourite ones that I've managed to attract, I'm going to finish with these 2, is this little chap. Anybody know what this is? You may have seen these in your garden. Okay, well, you're correct. It is. It's a great spotted woodpecker, and this is a male because he's got a little red mark on the back of his head. And if you put peanuts in a peanut feeder in your garden, then there's no doubt that quite soon a great spotted woodpecker will come along, because they're quite common in this area. And this time of year, if you're ever walking in the woods or something, sometimes you'll hear like a sound on a tree, and it's a great spotted woodpecker marking out the area where they're going to live with their family, and they do it really loudly to scare other woodpeckers away, because they don't want any other woodpeckers living where they're going to live, because they want to eat all the food for themselves and for their families. So they're beautiful birds if they come to live in your garden. And finally, this is probably one of my favourite birds of all. This is called a jay, and they don't have a very nice song actually, because they're in the crow family, and they sound a bit like a crow. In fact, in Welsh, they're called sgretch y coed, which means the wood screecher. But they are very clever, and they're the most beautiful bird in the crow family, and they have this lovely, lovely blue part to their wing right here, and a lovely pink body. And they're normally very, very shy. You don't see them very often, but I'm very lucky because I've been feeding them lots of peanuts. I'm very lucky. I have two that come to my garden every single day, and I've named them. One is called Jay, and one is called Jay-Z. So I have Jay and Jay-Z come to my garden every single day, and they become very, very good friends of mine. And because they know I give him lots of food, and because he knows I would never ever hurt Jay or Jay-Z, then they don't seem to be afraid of me anymore, and they come quite close to my house, so I can watch them really closely. So that's what I would say to you, is that that's what I like doing, is going for my walk and feeding and watching the birds. Now you might find that you have other things that you might like doing during this time when we're not with our friends and life is a bit different. And what I think is that, whatever it takes, it's important that we all do everything that we need at the moment to make ourselves feel good, because it's hard enough as it is anyway without school and without our family and friends around as it normally is. So do whatever it takes for you to enjoy yourselves as much as possible. And I just wanted to share some of those things that I do. And it's the RSPB Birdwatch is next week, starts on January the 29th. It goes on until January the 31st. So if you, perhaps with your mums and dads, if you go on the internet and type in RSPB Birdwatch, then all the information is there, so you could take part in the great RSPB Birdwatch next week, which would be really, really exciting. Okay, well, it's been lovely talking to you and catching up with you, and as I say, I hope that you're all well, you're all doing okay, and I'm thinking about you all the time, and really, really look forward to seeing you soon. Okay, so to all my boys and girls and all my families of Tavern Spite and Templeton CP School, wish you all the best and see you soon. Bye for now.